between the zeros and coefficients of a quadratic polynomial. So for this, at first we consider the general form of the quadratic polynomial as ax square plus bx plus c, where a not equal to 0 and a, b, c are real numbers. So since the maximum power of this quadratic polynomial is 2, that means it has how many zeros? 2 zeros. So it has 2 zeros. So we consider the 2 zeros of this polynomial. At first we put the name of the polynomial, since it is the polynomial in variable x. So we put the name of this polynomial at px. Now, according to the maximum power of this polynomial, we consider let alpha and beta are 2 zeros of px in this polynomial. Since the maximum power is 2, that means it has 2 zeros, and we denote the zeros with the symbol alpha and beta. Now, how the relation we can establish here? Just think about, look at an example here. When we take a polynomial x square minus x minus 6 and try to factorize it. So when you factorize it, then you can find that x square minus 3x plus 2x minus 6. That means we have two factors, x minus 3 and x plus 2. The two factors we can find out from this polynomial after factorization. So when we find out its zeros, when we find out the zeros of a quadratic polynomial, then what we do? We make the polynomial equal to 0. So why? We have the two factors. The two factors are x minus 3 and x plus 2. So to find out the value of x, we make each of the factor equal to 0. So this implies we have x is equal to 3 and from here x is equal to minus 2. That means we have two zeros, 3 and minus 2. This 3 is represented by symbol. We represent 3 as alpha and the second root by beta minus 2. Now suppose that when the two zeros are given, then how you can find out the factors? Just go in the opposite direction. Suppose that the two zeros are given and from these two zeros we want to create the factor, then what we do? We subtract. First of all look at कि यहाँ जो polynomial है किस वेरिएबल का है? x वेरिएबल का है. That means x में से इस पहले जीरो को घटा देंगे, माइनस करेंगे तो पहला फैक्टर तैयार होगा, और x में से इस दूसरे जीरो को भी माइनस करेंगे. x में अगर इस जीरो को माइनस करेंगे तो माइनस माइनस प्लस हो गया. दैट मीन्स सेकेंड फैक्टर हमें कितना मिला? x प्लस 2 मिला. तो जस्ट लुक बिफोर, वी हैव द टू फैक्टर्स हियर. For this polynomial, we have already prepared these two factors, and suppose that when we have the zeros, then how we can make the factor? By subtracting the zeros from the variable. So, हमने जीरो को वेरिएबल में सब्ट्रैक्ट करके दो फैक्टर तैयार किया है अकॉर्डिंग टू टू जीरो. दैट मीन जब हमारे पास अल्फा जीरो के रूप में है तो पहला फैक्टर हमें मिलेगा x माइनस अल्फा, और अगर दूसरा जीरो बीटा है तो दूसरा फैक्टर हमें मिलेगा x माइनस बीटा. तो जब ये जीरोज मालूम हो हमें, उसे हम उस पॉलिनोमियल के वेरिएबल में सब्ट्रैक्ट करके दो फैक्टर तैयार करेंगे. So just continue our process. We are going to continue our steps. Here we have considered alpha and beta are zeros of this polynomial. Remember, this polynomial containing the variable x. That means इस वेरिएबल में हम इस जीरो को माइनस करेंगे तो हमें फैक्टर तैयार मिलेगा. That means x minus alpha and x minus beta are factors of px. इस एग्जांपल में हमने देखा था कि एक्स स्क्वायर माइनस एक्स माइनस सिक्स बराबर हमने लिखा एक्स माइनस थ्री और एक्स प्लस टू. दैट मीन जब इसे सिंप्लीफाई किया गया था तो यहाँ इसके जीरोज क्या मिले थे, थ्री और माइनस टू मिले थे. तो जब इन दोनों जीरो से हमने फैक्टर तैयार किया तो जब हम इन दोनों फैक्टर्स को मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे तो अगेन हमें वही पॉलिनोमियल फिर से प्राप्त होगा. सो बाय यहाँ जब हमने यही दोनों फैक्टर्स तैयार कर दिया है जीरो के आधार पर और ये जीरो इस पॉलिनोमियल का है, दैट मीन्स इन दोनों का प्रोडक्ट इसके बराबर होगा. सो वी हैव ax square plus bx plus c, that means this polynomial can be written as a product of these two factors x minus beta. Now look here, since x square has some coefficient a and when you multiply these two, then can you find out any coefficient other than 1? No. So why we multiply it with some constant k, where k is a constant, where k is a constant. Now multiply these two factors. So what you get here? Okay. When we multiply these two factors, x से इस ब्रैकेट को मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे x माइनस बीटा एंड देन माइनस अल्फा. इस अल्फा से इस ब्रैकेट को पुनः मल्टीप्लाई करेंगे. सो व्हाट वी हैव, सो write the next step, ax square plus bx plus c is equal to k whole x square minus beta x minus alpha x minus minus plus alpha beta. Now look at the next step, ax square plus bx plus c is equal to, after simplification, the last step. So here k x square, try to इसे सीधा करेंगे हम टर्म्स को, अल्फा x माइनस बीटा x प्लस अल्फा बीटा. So k x square, now take common minus x, so what we have, alpha plus beta plus alpha into beta. Now break the bracket and k multiplied with each term. k alpha beta. Now here in the LHS we have ax square plus bx plus c. Now we are going to compare the coefficient of x square from both sides and coefficient of x from both sides and constant terms from both sides. Now we comparing coefficients of x square x and terms. We get, so what we get here, so when we comparing the coefficient of x square, just look here, coefficient of x square is k and here coefficient of x square is a. This implies a is equal to a. And compare the coefficient of x from both sides. Here the coefficient of x is, x के अलावा जितने numbers यहाँ दिख रहे हैं वो सभी इसकी coefficient हो जाएंगे along with the minus sign. और यहाँ x के साथ b है, that means what we have, b is equal to k minus k alpha plus beta. That means put the value of k from here, which is a. So b is equal to minus a alpha plus beta. Now let's look here how we can write further. Set this minus a here, then we write this implies alpha plus beta is equal to minus b by a. Now this alpha plus beta is written as sum of zeros and minus, just look here, when you look at the general form of quadratic polynomial, then you can find that b is the coefficient of x. So here we write in place of b coefficient of x. And just look here, what is a? A stands for coefficient of x square. Now we are going to compare the constant terms. So also when we comparing the constant term, then you can find the previous expressions that the constant term is to the LHS is c and in the RHS that term should be, that term was k alpha beta. Now here we find out that value of k is equal to a. Just substitute the value of k, a into alpha beta c. So find out the value of alpha beta. So alpha beta is equal to c by a when you send a to the other side. Now this alpha into beta is said to be product of zeros. Is equal to, now c stands for, in the general form of quadratic polynomial, constant term by coefficient of x square. So this is the relation between the zeros and the coefficients. Zeros and the coefficients here also. So this is the required relation between zeros and the coefficients and the constant terms.